Welcome in, everybody, to the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. It is a Wednesday. We are halfway through with the week. We are live on YouTube, on Roku, on Facebook, on X. We are everywhere. In about 15 minutes, I'll be joined by Yahoo Sports analyst, college football analyst, NFL analyst, I guess just football all-around guru, Jason Fitz, my buddy, my friend from ESPN or ESPN days. Jason Fitz will be joining me in just a little bit to talk about the college football playoff, try to make sense over everything that's going on in the college football world. And, of course, we might just have ourselves a little bit of shenanigans and all the other fun stuff that we've got going on. Now, remember, the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton is brought to you by our friends over at RevAutoCarCare.com. RevAutoCarCare.com, that's where you need to go to make sure that you have all of the car care needs taken care of for the car person in your life. Now, it's not just car wash stuff. Check out RevAutoCarCare.com. Everything you need to make sure that ride of yours is looking as beautiful and as sweet as possible. Y'all know I love my cars. I am all about RevAutoCarCare.com. Use promo code Tipton33 and save yourself up to 15% on specific items. I am just checking all of the stream stuff here, making sure that everything is working good. The signal isn't the greatest right now, so I am not happy with that, but we will find our way through all of this. We will meander our way through the remainder of the show if I can just not focus on the little thing telling me that for some reason, some way, the signal is not the strongest that it can be. USA, right? USA. We're making our way through. We're doing what we can to sustain through all of this good stuff. All right. Yesterday, the College Football Playoff Committee came out with their top 12, because obviously that's what the top 12 is going to be, of the teams that are going to be in the College Football Playoff. And looking at the way that it's made right now, looking at how the College Football Playoff Committee has gotten everything underway, not much has changed at the top. Oregon, still number one. Texas, still number two. Where the changes come is Ohio State losing this weekend, pushes them down a little bit. Penn State now in that number 3 spot. Notre Dame in the number 4 spot. Georgia, Ohio State, Tennessee, SMU, Indiana, Boise State, Alabama. And then on the outside looking in, we have Miami. Miami was number 6. They wind up losing to Syracuse, a ranked Syracuse team, mind you. Syracuse is, I'm trying to find where they are rated at. They're the 22nd ranked team in the college football playoff right now. So a lot got shaken up over this past week because of all the issues in college sports. Medusa Design saying, Buenos dias, Mr. Tip. Buenos dias to you, Medusa. Finishing up the commercial, it was it was a lot. It was a bit much. It was a bit much for what I wanted, so I had to redo the commercial 2 or 3 times. It's not going to air today, but I figured why not? I'll put it out on social media, and then it'll air on this show itself starting tomorrow and every subsequent day after that. But the College Football Playoff Committee, to me, has a ton of explaining that they need to do on this, because I don't understand. Or it's not that I don't understand. Maybe it's just I don't like the way that it's going right now with the College Football Playoff Committee. I don't like what I'm seeing as far as, this team is going to be ranked over this team, and they're going to get in, and this other team's not. The top 12 teams are not getting into the College Football Playoff, because right now Miami's on the outside looking in. Miami is the one team that you can look at and say, okay, well, they're not going to be competing in the College Football Playoff, because if the College Football Playoff were to start today, you would have Oregon, Texas, SMU, and Boise State as your 4 seeds that get a bye. Then you would have a matchup between Penn State, Arizona State, Ohio State and Tennessee, Alabama and Notre Dame, and then Indiana and Georgia. Why is it that Miami, not being the 12th best team in the NCAA in college football, Miami being the 12th best team in college football, is not going to be in the college football playoff. Just period. End of discussion. They will not be in the college football playoff. And it's a tough thing for me to try to grasp my head around because you said, okay, we want to do this where all of these teams are getting some sort of representation, right? We want to make sure that we have all of these teams, even a group of 5 team, represented in the college football playoff. Well, if Miami is the 12th team, then they should be on the outside looking in. They shouldn't be on the outside looking in. They should be the 12th team playing against Ohio State. Instead, what we have right now is Arizona State. Arizona State. And if you remember, I went through that top 12 list. It was Oregon, Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, Georgia, Ohio State, Tennessee, SMU, Indiana, Boise State, Alabama, and then Miami at 12. Arizona State is now the next team that gets in. Arizona State is the 15th ranked team in the country, behind Ole Miss and South Carolina. So you have Miami, Ole Miss, and South Carolina ahead of Arizona State. And I get it, Arizona State's going to be the Big 12 champion. But if we don't have value in the Big 12, why on God's green earth are we rewarding that team? If the champion of the Big 12, sitting at 10-2 right now, isn't better than Alabama, isn't better than Miami, isn't better than Ole Miss, isn't better than South Carolina, why are they automatically leapfrogging these teams? And I get it. People are going to tell me left and right all the time as I see Jessica Michelle Forzon is tuned in right now. Jolly Belly Jellies is the place that you want to go to. Check out her TikTok page, making some amazing jellies as well. I've had some of them. It was called Just the Tip. It was amazing pomegranate and strawberry flavored jelly. It was great. It was an amazing jelly. Go check her out, Jolly Belly Jellies with Jessica Michelle Forzon. Now, getting back to the task at hand here, as I always seem to just kind of get deviated off of what it is that I'm trying to do. In about 5 minutes, my friend Jason Fitz is going to be joining me here from Yahoo Sports. We're going to talk about if he can explain to me why it is that Arizona State automatically gets to leapfrog teams just because they're the champion of the Big 12. If you look at the Big 12, it's not an impressive conference. You've got 4 teams in the top 25 in Colorado and BYU, Iowa State, Arizona State. The ACC, to me, is always going to be a slightly better conference, or at least recently has been a slightly better conference than that of the Big 12, especially seeing the mass exodus that we saw out of the Big 12 over the last couple of years, right? Ever since Texas and Oklahoma decided we're going to blow this up and we're going to go to the SEC, we've seen basically a revolving door out of both the Pac-12 and the Big 12 with all this new conference realignment and all the stuff that they've got going on, right? As I go through and see the landscape that is college football right now, or I guess the hellscape that I can say is college football right now, there is no way that you can tell me with a straight face that Arizona State belongs in the college football playoff simply because they won their conference. Not a great conference. The fact that the Big 12 had around, 6 teams, as our guy Tommy Cananza tunes in saying good morning, Tip. Good morning to you. The Big 12 had about 6 teams that were still in contention for winning the championship just this past weekend. There was, Colorado had a scenario where they could have won the Big 12 championship. This would have been a 9-3 Big 12 champion team. It's impossible for me to sit here and look at it the way that it is right now. And I'm not a Miami guy. I'm not a University of Miami guy. But if you're the 12th ranked team, and we said we're gonna create this whole process of the NCAA college football tournament thing that we're doing, in order to make sure we got the best teams there. You have your representation from your lower seeded team or from your mid-major conference, which is Boise State representing the Mountain West. They've already got their pity vote in. But to see that there are 3 teams better than one of the teams that's going to be in the college football playoff, explain this to me, how this is better than what we just came from. Explain to me how going to 12 is better than what it was with 4, because now you're missing out on 3 teams that are better than the team that is seated above them simply because they won the Big 12, as if the Big 12 is something that you should be proud of winning. I guess you should. You won your conference, whatever. But it's not one of the major conferences out there anymore. It's not the Big 10. It's not the ACC. It's not the SEC. There is so much more of a divide now in the Big 12 than, the separation of the Big 12 compared to the other 3 major conferences in the ACC, the Big 10, and the SEC, that it's impossible for me to sit back and think that Arizona State deserves to be in the college football playoff ahead of Miami, ahead of Ole Miss, and ahead of South Carolina. I'm joined now by my dude, Jason Fitz, who has the look on his face like he is disgusted by what I just said right now. Jason Fitz, thank you so much for joining us today. Make sense of this for me, because I don't see how this 12-team playoff is better than the 4-team playoff.
The problem is we have a committee that ranks and we have seating that has nothing to do with that committee. So, look, to be honest with you, when we expanded to 12 teams, my biggest concern was, were we still going to talk about college football, nationally? If you think about it, when you and I first worked together around ESPN, nobody was talking about college football Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? Then the College Football Playoff Committee comes in. It gave us reason to talk Tuesday, Wednesday. 4 teams with a little debate. Now what we see is that, frankly, the committee provides tremendous debate throughout the entire week, which is a glorious thing. But also, let's not get it twisted. The whole process has failed. It's not truly the best 12 teams in the country. The automatic bids, I grew up in Vegas. I am a UNLV fan. UNLV has a very real shot at the college football playoff, which is awesome for UNLV fans. But if I'm sitting here in South Carolina and I'm saying, how in the heck are you going to justify putting UNLV in over South Carolina? This is the hard part, because there aren't 64 teams. This isn't the NCAA tournament. This is only 12 teams. So it's not the 12 best teams. It's not even the 12 most deserving teams. It's 5 automatic bids and then 7 random wild cards.
You kind of laid it up here for me. It's almost like we share a brain right here. I went ahead today. I created a list right here of an NCAA tournament style 25-team bracket, right? We can just use the top 25. We don't need to expand it all the way to 64, where you would have basically a bye week for the top 7 teams. Try to get into that top 7, right? But now what it's doing is it's rewarding the top 25. It's not getting this arbitrary, yes, you're 12, but now we have to put the 15th ranked team ahead of you just because it's all, different or whatever. Now all you're doing is playing for seeding. And we know there's going to be people out there who's like, oh, well, the Mountain West isn't going to get the automatic bye week. The Mountain West doesn't deserve an automatic bye week. Can we agree on that, Fitz? The Mountain West didn't go through the gauntlet that the SEC went through.
I would have no problem if right now, a couple of different ways they could do it. If the committee simply voted on the top 12 and that was our 12, I'd be fine with that, by the way. If the committee votes on the top 12 and we're going to make sure that 5 conference champions get in, I don't love that, but okay, if that's what we're doing, that's what we're doing. It's the automatic buys that come for some of these conference champions. Why in the heck would even if Boise State beats UNLV, which is not a given, but even if Boise State beats UNLV, Boise State deserves a home playoff game over substantial teams that are better. I mean, if I'm looking around at Penn State, think about where Penn State sits right now. Through no fault of their own, Penn State is now playing in the Big Ten championship game. And I do mean through no fault. This is not a benefit. If they get absolutely just destroyed by Oregon, instead of sitting where they should have been, which is probably the number 5 team, which probably gives them home field in the first game, they could fall. And for all we know, they're going to fall low enough that they're on the road to the playoffs. And suddenly the path to a national championship changed because of seeding, not because of ranking, but because of seeding, and because we have this impossible process that tries to figure out who belongs where. All of that sort of broke up. So yeah, I'm with you. If you want to give me 25, I'd be fine with as many teams as we want to give. Playoffs or playoffs. Just take away the automatic bids, take away the automatic seeding, take away all of that. I think it'd be a better system.
And I think that's what it comes down to, right? a lot of these conferences are starting to move away from their conference championship game because they don't want to hurt what could be their representative in the playoff. And to me, again, like the 25-team playoff, you would need 49 total bowl games. There's currently 47. So let's just add 2 more bowl games here in whatever place we want to do it. But what it does is it creates what people want, which is TV revenue, right? More eyes on the teams we actually care about. I don't know if you watch bowl games the way that I do, where you just hate you hate watch them because it's a Gasparilla Bowl and whatever thing with team you haven't heard of all season versus team you haven't heard of. Much more different for you because you actually have to care about this stuff. Me, I don't care that much about college football. I just want to watch, right? So just give me the top 25 teams. Let's call it a day and have ourselves a good time. But I also, Fitz, there's a part of me that, you know how I am. I'm a masochist. I'm an agent of chaos. I want the Boise State, Indiana national championship game.
Look, you want to give me Boise State, Indiana? That'd be interesting. Yeah, but here's the one thing we got to, because I'm with you. I actually love anything that's unpredictable. I am also an agent of chaos. But the ratings, and this is interesting in college basketball, we talk about this all the time. What do people want? In the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament, the ratings show that people want, like, they want Cinderellas, they want great stories, they want epic endings. When you get to the Final Four in the championship game, unknown teams get bad ratings. You know, when you go back to that Butler Duke championship game years ago, that was one of the worst rated championship games of all time. And then you look at it and you're like, well, why? Well, it's because then nobody wants them. People, at the end of the day, everyone wants mass chaos until we get to the championship game where they want Duke, North Carolina. Like, that's what, like, just give me the 2 big brands. So I think in your process of this college football playoff, people want Boise State, UNLV, Indiana, teams like that to win a bunch of football games, but then they still want the championship game that ultimately turns out to be Ohio State versus Texas or Alabama versus Penn State. Like, they want Notre Dame versus Georgia, like these big name matchups. But I do think what's interesting about the college football portion of it is this year, particularly because there was so much chaos, like, we're forgiving Indiana. We're just accepting Indiana as a playoff team based on what? Like, the one tough game they played all year, they got boat raced. Like, if Indiana has to play as it would stand now, I think they played Georgia in the first round. They will get murdered by Georgia. Like, this isn't even going to be a competitive football game. And I don't think Georgia is that good. Like, Georgia is a team that on paper should be much better than they actually are. So I also think what gets really interesting, even in this expanded playoff, is what are we going to do if, like, a couple of weeks ago, it looked like we were going to get really sexy matchups, right? Like, you tell me we're getting Alabama, Notre Dame in the first round of playoffs, people are going to watch that. If these all turn out to be 38-10 shellackings, is that good? Like, and I do think that there's a chance for that by forcing a team like, look, again, I'm going to presume UNLV wins the Mountain West Championship game 124-0 because I'm completely biased, which means then they'll probably be the 12 seed, which means at that point, I'm guessing they have to go to Penn State. Like, UNLV going to Penn State is not going to be pretty for anybody. Nobody but me is going to want to watch that football game. And at the end of the first quarter, I'm going to be sad that I did. So, like, I don't know that that's really great for college football. So if you expand it, you might actually get some more interesting matchups that are decent games because you're getting like opponents. I don't think this is going to give us like opponents this year.
And I think that's the thing, right? Is like college football isn't as unpredictable as people want it to be. It's not like the NCAA basketball tournament or any of the, like, even the NFL, right? College football is the haves and the have-nots. And it's real easy to see who the have-nots are whenever they play against the haves. And you hit the nail on the head for me. Indiana doesn't deserve to be here. They had, what was it, the 106th strength of schedule in college football. There's 136 teams. That means they're only better than 30 other teams out there, right? And like you said, the one game they play against a really good opponent, and people are going to say, oh, special teams, this and that. I don't care. The final score was an absolute ass whooping. Like there was no competitive nature in this. And I feel like that's what we're more than likely going to get with the playoffs set up the way that it is, especially, I mean, let's go with the hypothetical. It all ends today. Boise State's your number 4 team. Their first round matchup is going to more than likely be Penn State. Penn State would just obliterate them because there is such a difference between the Big Ten and the Mountain West. I was right before you joined, I said there's a huge gulf between the Big 12 because I don't think that they deserve to have representation if they're not that great, and everyone else. It's a huge gulf between everyone else in the Mountain West. And it's mind-blowing to me that this is what it's came down to. It makes me miss having the computers.
Well, and The funny part about Indiana, if you take the Ohio State, because the Indiana fans are telling me take the Ohio State game out of it, like look at the rest of the season. Okay. If we take that game out and we look at the rest of the season, Boise State, Army, Tulane, UNLV all play tougher strength of schedule. Right. So I think part of what we have to look at here is not just conference, it's who you're playing. And then if we're being real, like off the top of my head, Texas, Oregon, Georgia, Penn State, Notre Dame, like these are all teams that, okay, I understand they belong in the college football playoff, right? Once you get to, and I would even argue if we were just looking at body of work right now, South Carolina is playing better than most of these teams, right? So you start looking across the board, there's what, 6, 7 teams that can win the championship. And then we got to fill the rest of it out. So we're really like, we're having outrage over who's going to be left out of this process. But like, in fairness, I don't think Miami is a national championship caliber football team. So, like Miami being left out of the college football playoff, well, they won 3 or 4 games in a miracle ending. Their defense can't stop anybody. Georgia Tech ran the time of possession difference in that game. Go back and rewatch that game and tell me that a national championship caliber team lets that happen to them. Like I can't make it make sense. So I think this year, it's funny. We'll use the word parity because parity makes it sound like it's good. There's just a lot of meh college football teams this year. Like we say parity, but reality of it is like on any given Saturday, a lot of these teams have shown that they are good enough to win it all. The problem is most of these teams are not good enough to bring that version of themselves every single time. And that to me is the problem. Like to me, a national champ, when you say, wow, we're the number 3 team in the country, I should sit there and say, oh my God, you're number 3. I don't want to play that team. That team is usually a great football team. This year, we're like, I mean, somebody's got to be number 3. That's real to just, it's not the same level of dominance across the board. So it's interesting because I don't know who you can trust in this year's college football. I don't know that most of these teams other than Oregon have really put enough on tape to make you believe that they're great. And yet we're sitting here talking about it every day because of expansion.
You know where I'm from? I am from the great state of Texas. Give me a scenario because I agree with you. I think Oregon is just head and shoulders better than everyone else. Is there a scenario out there where Texas would be able to win a national championship?
Oh, heck yeah. Like, I think a couple of things about Texas that stands out. Number one, their defense is experienced, and there's a bunch of grown-ass men playing defense in college football. Like, they have seen a lot of football. They don't make a lot of mistakes. And when Texas is at their best, it's because fundamentally they don't let you do what they do. I think Texas is going to roll in the SEC championship game. I don't care what happened before. The other side of it is I think Texas can force mistakes. And if you look back, Dylan Gabriel, don't look at his numbers. His numbers are spectacular. Dylan Gabriel's been one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Go back and look at some of the bigger games this year, though. He throws up some 50-50 balls, and he's gotten away with it. All it takes is 1 or 2 turnovers, and that sort of a game flips on its head. I think Oregon's going to have a tougher matchup this weekend with Penn State than a lot of people think. Oregon is the type of team that they can get after a quarterback. They can absolutely create pressure, and they have a very good quarterback that's athletic. Texas is the type of team that's not going to let that athletic quarterback be an athlete, and their defense isn't going to make a lot of mistakes. So I think Texas is kind of a matchup nightmare. Quinn's got to be a little bit more accurate on some of these deep balls. I don't think he's been himself since he came back from the injury. But when you start talking about playoff planning and you start talking about the limited number of plays that are going to come in for Arch, I think that's a big deal too. Like whoever they're playing, like Georgia right now is having to prep for goal line plays that involve Arch. That's practice time. Like that's dedicated time that you're spending on another quarterback. So I think Sark has done a really nice job of the offensive game plan. Their running backs have turned out to be much better than anybody expected. I think Texas can beat anybody.
I know it's a huge what if, but what if both Oregon and Texas lose in their championship games?
Well, if Texas loses in their championship game and then Oregon loses to Penn State becomes the number 1 team in the country. Texas probably falls to 5, I would think, somewhere in that range. So Texas still gets a home game. The SEC champion Georgia would have to come up. Georgia with 3 losses, probably still ranked ahead of Boise State or UNLV, and ranked ahead of. So I guess Georgia goes in as likely the 2 seed. Penn State goes 1, Georgia goes 2. That feels gross. Like that just doesn't even feel right to me. And then Arizona State comes in 3, and UNLV, we're going to just manifest that, comes in at 4. And that means that, yeah, likely, I think Texas is probably the 5 seed. It'd have to be a massive blowout. Like I think Notre Dame is sitting here saying, wait a minute, we deserve to be number 5 no matter what. To which the other answer is always going to be Southern Illinois. Like, you have the most inexcusable loss in all of college football this year. So that changes a little bit of the narrative. But I think, frankly, if Penn State gets blown out, they could slip below Notre Dame. If Georgia gets beat pretty handily, they could slip below Notre Dame. But I think if either of the 2 favorites lose, they still stay ahead of Notre Dame.
It's going to be interesting to see how this goes, Fitz. I know you got your work cut out for you with the NFL, with college football. You're doing a great job, my guy. Promote the stuff that you're doing over there with Yahoo, please.
Yeah, Yahoo, we're doing a lot of stuff I'm proud of. The College Football Power Hour, great podcast you can catch every Tuesday and Saturday. We get you all the reactions to everything going on. Love that show. And then also inside coverage on the NFL side. We do Sunday night, react to every game. And then Wednesday and Friday, we're out there podcast. You can get it wherever you stream your podcast, YouTube. You can also follow me on social media at Jason Fitz. I throw up links all the time. A fun way to hang out with us. Really proud of the shows we're doing there.
Also, I want to give you a little bit of love. This man is so dedicated that whenever we were hanging out in Connecticut in October, Upset City happens. He leaves that, goes and does his job, and then comes back to hang out at the rest of the party. My guy, I got nothing but love for you. Thank you for joining me today.
Love you, brother. Thank you so much for having me.
Once again, Jason Fitz from Yahoo Sports, helping to break down the college football playoff. Look, it's one of those frustrating things where everyone thinks the more that we put in, the more likely we are to get just, more parity and everyone's got a shot and blah, 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 blah. My guy, Brandon the Iceman Cohn, we've done a ton of Fire and Ice shows together. He has said this a million times and it annoys the hell out of me. And it's the whole concept of, well, you got to see what can happen, right? Like what I say all the time, the sun can shine on a dog's ass every now and again. Well, the fact of the matter is some of these dogs don't deserve to have the sunlight on them at all. Period. And that's where I land with Arizona State. That's where I'm landing right now with Indiana, right? You cannot tell me that a team that has the 106th strength of schedule out of 136 teams deserves to be the 9th ranked team in the country. Like it just doesn't make sense to me at all. I get it. You win your games, you win your schedule, blah, 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 blah. Well, hell, why not become independent, schedule a bunch of FCS schools like Notre Dame does, and then get a higher ranking in it just because that's the way that the game is going now. For me, it's so frustrating. It's asinine to try to watch. But here I am, going to be talking about it, going to be watching it because I'm a glutton for pain. All right, y'all. Whenever we come back here on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, we're going to break down what I think would be the best case scenario for college football. We'll go over the rankings that are currently going on right now, and we will go over the matchups that we would have if the college football playoff were to start today. All that and more whenever we return on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton.
Hello, Bernie Olivas again, Executive Director of the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, giving you an update as to who's going to play on the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl on December the 31st at high noon at the Sun Bowl Stadium. Well, this is week 12, and we still have a plethora of teams that could possibly be in the Sun Bowl, all of them very good. From the Pac-12, we're still looking at Arizona State, Washington, UCLA, USC, and Utah. Any of those teams would do great in El Paso. From the ACC side, we have another bunch of teams that are still possibles, beginning with Syracuse, Louisville, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, North Carolina. Boy, what any of those matchups will be tremendous for our game again on December 31st. Make sure you get your tickets early. They're going pretty fast. So December 31st, 12 noon, Sun Bowl Stadium. Get your tickets now. Don't get left out.
Hello, I'm Mike Tipton with a message for the ladies. Ladies, the man in your life doesn't know how to tell you this, but his nuts are not happy. Don't worry, you can make them happy by giving him happy nuts this holiday season. Visit www.myhappynuts.com/Mike Tipton and look for the perfect package that fits your man's package. From our Jingle Bells Your Ball Smell gift box that contains a Happy Nuts Comfort Cream and Anti-Chafe Comfort Stick, two of our best sellers, and a special gift your man would love to hang from the tree, to our fresh and clean bundle, our special soaps, and even our patented nut scrubber, MyHappyNuts.com has everything you need to take your man's nuts from being sad to happy this holiday season. Visit MyHappyNuts.com/Mike Tipton today and save up to 40% on the perfect package for your man's package. Welcome back into the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. We are live on X, on Facebook, on YouTube, and of course on Roku via the national streaming sports app. Want to give a shout out to my guy, Adrian Zamudio, who is tuned in right now saying good morning to you. Good morning to everybody out there here on this beautiful Wednesday morning. I got a special announcement that I want to make this Sunday. I will be going live from Sunland Park Racetrack and Casino at 12:30 as the Sun Bowl announces who will be competing in the 93rd annual or the 91st annual Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. They're going to feature a team from the ACC and a team from the former Pac-12 or the Pac-12. Kickoff is going to be December 31st, as we all know, but this Sunday, December 8th at 12:30, I will be going live from Sunland Park Racetrack and Casino, and we will have that announcement for you live as we find out what teams are going to be representing which conference in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl this year. Woo, okay. All that good stuff. We have all that taken care of. Now, I mentioned it before we went to the break, and I know that today's probably not going to be the day a lot of people want to tune in because it's going to be a very college football heavy day, but that's just because yesterday the College Football Committee let us know what was going on. Not a lot going on in the world of the NFL outside of suspensions and other things like that. A lot of sad stories out there, and I don't want to be sad this early in the morning, so I'm trying to be a little more uplifting and maybe a little more controversial. And what I went ahead and did, just because what I saw yesterday with the College Football Playoff Committee really bothered me. I know it shouldn't have, but it did. And what I did is I had brought this up last year to my friend Mike Golick Jr., huge college football guy. You can check him out on the DraftKings Network. Gojo and Golick is the name of his show. He was on the show with Brandon and I said, instead of having a 12-team playoff, why don't we just have an NCAA tournament style bracket for college football? And it got me thinking. And anytime I get to thinking, that's normally not a good thing. But I decided I was going to create it right now. And what that did is it created 7 bye games. So 7 bye weeks, basically, for all of the top 7 teams. And the way that sits right now is the teams that would receive a bye are Oregon, Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, Georgia, Ohio State, and Tennessee. We can all say pretty much deserving of their ranking right now, right? Because your ranking ultimately is going with the Bill Parcells thing, y'all are going to get tired of me saying this. The ranking is who you are. That's who you are, right? No more of this. We're going to leapfrog and put people in these different positions just because we want to put people in different positions. get to the dance. Anything can happen when you're in the dance. It's that simple. You want to be considered one of the best teams, all you got to do is crack that top 7. That's all you've got to do. Crack that top 7, and then boom, you've got yourself a path to the championship, right? But the way that it would go is you would have a matchup between the rest of the top 25 teams, which to me is what's going to create fun. That to me is what's going to create interest stories for people. Again, there are 47 different bowl games right now. 47 different bowl games right now. And I guarantee you, not a damn person in this planet, other than the people who are going to be, supporters of whatever that football team is. And even then, it's not even that much. But no one on this planet is going to care about who's playing in the Gaspar Aurelia Motor Bowl game or whatever the hell it is, right? All the different names that we get out of college football as far as the bowl games go. So why not make it games where we no longer have the ability to opt out? Because that's one of the things that's been hurting college football is players opting out, caring more about their draft status if it's a game that no one is going to be caring about. That's one of the things that's hurt the Sun Bowl over the last couple of years is the biggest stars haven't been playing in that game. So what you would do is now you create a matchup between from 8 to 25, who they're going to face. The number 8 seed would be SMU versus Memphis. That's an ACC game, an ACC championship game, or actually, I guess ACC versus the American Conference game. I'm all about it. You got two teams that have very similar records. Memphis, 10-2. SMU, 11-1. But they're more evenly matched than what you would get currently, which would be SMU with a bye week taking on the winner of Alabama-Notre Dame. Alabama-Notre Dame, whoever wins that game, will steamroll SMU. Then you would have the 9 seed versus the 24, which would be Indiana versus Army. 10 versus 23 would be Boise State and Colorado. I am all about that. Give me more Colorado. Give them a bowl game that matters. Give Colorado the opportunity to be a team that goes in and creates a ton of chaos. I'm not one for the whole showboaty type of stuff. That's just not how I am. But I love watching what Colorado's doing right now because they are showing you flat out what is wrong with college football. That you can just have all the NIL deals, get all the money, a coach that's known as a money dude because let's face it, if you don't know who Deion Sanders is, you've been living under a rock for the last 34 years. You got a team here that I think can cause a lot of chaos. So I am all about giving them an actual shot. So you would have Boise State versus Colorado. That would be your 10-23 match. Then your 11-22 match would be Bama versus Syracuse. Syracuse, are they better? My guy Mike Ryan from the Dan Le Batard Show, are they better? Is Syracuse better than Bama? We get to figure it out right now, right? We get to figure it out together this way. Then you would have number 12 Miami versus number 21 Illinois, number 13 Ole Miss versus UNLV at number 20, number 14 South Carolina versus number 19 Missouri, number 15 Arizona State versus BYU, and then 16-17 matchup would be Iowa State versus Clemson. Yes, that sounds like a lot of matchups, but it's better than anything we get currently right now with the bowl system. Again, I get it. You want teams to be bowl eligible, haha, yay, whatever. I don't care. That stuff doesn't matter. In the day and age that we're in right now, if you cannot crack the top 25, then you shouldn't be rewarded with whatever it is that's out there. Maybe we could find a way that conferences get a little extra money because I understand that bowl games help generate revenue for some teams. That's why we've seen a resurgence in this area of the world and far west Texas and southern New Mexico, with New Mexico State getting a lot of revenue going their way. Why? Because they've been in bowl games and they've won bowl games. That's additional revenue that the football team brings in that I know would have to wind up being supplemented somehow, some way. But if you're out there telling me that college football with this playoff ranking committee this way wouldn't be able to just have a lot of money to throw out to conference champions, right? Maybe the benefit for your conference champion is each one of your players gets a couple $100, couple $1,000, whatever it might be, additional to their NIL. And then the school itself gets, $1.5 million or whatever like that. I know for us normal folks, 1.5 million seems like a ton of money, and it really is. But in college athletics, that 1.5 million ain't a damn thing. I'm about to launch on January 1st a brand new podcast that's talking about the history of sports, right? And the first show that I'm going to do is one about the Rose Bowl. And I was blown away learning that the Rose Bowl itself, just the game, the Rose Bowl last year, wound up making over $93 million. $93 million. If you're telling me that the NCAA tournament, that the NCAA football tournament that I'm creating here wouldn't generate enough money to just pay off conference champions, then I don't know what the hell the NCAA is doing. And that's the route that the NCAA is going to have to go. The NCAA is no longer the arbiter of what rules in college football is anymore. They gave that up back in 2020 whenever they said, we don't know how to handle this COVID situation. You guys do whatever the hell it is that you want to do. Our hands are off. You guys do whatever it is that you want to do. Ever since that moment, ever since that time where the NCAA decided that they wanted to be so hands-off, they have done nothing but lose power. Lose, 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 lose. That's all they've been doing. And for me, the only way you get that power back if you're the NCAA, and trust me, the NCAA football right now, especially college sports, needs governance. They need someone or something that is going to keep them in line, keep them in check for what it is that we need them to be. The way college football is right now, the way college basketball is right now is unsustainable. You cannot have players bouncing around from team to team just over and over and over chasing dollar signs. I'm all about it, right? If you have the ability to do so, by all means, do what you got to do, big boy. I am with you on this. But if you have issues like what we had last year here at UTEP, where you have these players and it's hard for people, for fans, to wind up caring about these players because we don't know who the hell they are because they just keep coming and going. Last year, UTEP's leading scorer was a fifth-year senior on his fourth team. He had gone to Connecticut. He had gone to a couple of other smaller schools and then finished it out over here at UTEP. 5 years, 4 schools. You cannot keep having that, where these kids are just going around trying to chase whatever dollar signs they can get because boosters are going to go out there and pay for it. So the NCAA needs to find a way to wrangle all this in. I'm not too sure how you do it without unionizing players, basically. But now what you're doing is you're going to have to create a system where you're trying to pay at a minimum, 103 athletes that are on scholarship for high school football or for college football teams for a minimum of 136 teams. I'm not going to do the math off my head. I didn't even think about this whole topic until literally right now. So let me find out how many people that would be. And we'll just go with the minimum here of being 100. Trying to clear all this out. Jesus. With that simple math right there, if it's only 100 students, 100 student athletes that you would need to pay over those 136 teams, it would wind up being 13,600 people. What is your payment going to be for them, right? How is the NCAA going to navigate doing all this? And that's just off of one sport for only one division of that sport. There are over 400 total college football teams out here. Now, none of them are going to be as big as what D1 is, so obviously numbers are going to fall the smaller the school gets, right? Like Sul Ross doesn't have a roster size the size of UTEP. But the only way the NCAA is going to be able to survive this nonsense that they helped create, which is NIL, the only way they're going to survive it is by actually wrangling it in. It cannot be the wild, wild west anymore. And the catalyst to that, I am a firm believer, is what the mindset that I have right now is, which is it doesn't matter if you win your conference championship. You better be one of the top 25 teams. And that's all that matters. That is all that matters. Be one of the top 25. There's 136 of you. You ought to be able to be top 25 at least once, right? New Mexico State a few years back was a top 25 team. The year they won a bowl game, they were a top 25 team. Well, now they have the opportunity to dance a little longer if they win another bowl game, right? It gives you something to play for other than being just 12. It widens the opportunity gap. It gets rid of the nonsense that we're dealing with right now in college football, which is, okay, it's going to be the top 12 teams, but it's not really the top 12 teams because we have to have automatic bids in there. No more automatic bids. If you are the best 7, you get a bye week. That's simple. That's simple. It shouldn't be as difficult as it's been to try to determine who a national champion in college football is. You can look right now and watch the damn games and realize that the Arizona State Sun Devils are not better than Miami, are not better than Ole Miss, are not better than South Carolina. Just because you win the Big 12 doesn't mean that you get an automatic bid into being one of the best 12 teams. If you're the 15th ranked team, you're the 15th ranked team for a reason. It's because your conference wasn't great. And again, Indiana, the 106th best team in the country, or the 106th strength of schedule in the country, out of 136 teams. Somehow, some way, being ranked number 9 is ridiculous. And I get it. You want to reward people. You win the games that are on your schedule. That's all you got to do. Just win the games on your schedule. And I totally understand that. But it is just mind-blowing to me that they can have that weak of a schedule and get rewarded with an opportunity into a national championship tournament where they are all more than likely going to get their ass kicked. Endo discussion. They're more than likely going to get their ass kicked. All right, y'all, we're going to take another quick break. Whenever we come back here on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, we're going to close it out, hopefully on a little happier note. Jesus, I feel like I've been on fire this entire time. My God, it's been such a heavy me lecturing type day. I'm on my get off my lawn mode right now. We got a woosah, calm down. It'll be all right. Maybe go to Sunland Park, get a couple of gummies, come on my way back. We'll see how it goes. We'll be right back on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton.
Hello, I'm Mike Tipton with a message for the ladies. Ladies, the man in your life doesn't know how to tell you this, but his nuts are not happy. Don't worry, you can make them happy by giving him happy nuts this holiday season. Visit www.myhappynuts.com/Mike Tipton and look for the perfect package that fits your man's package. From our Jingle Bells Your Balls Smell gift box that contains a Happy Nuts Comfort Cream and Anti-Chafe Comfort Stick, to of our best sellers and a special gift your man would love to hang from the tree, to our fresh and clean bundle, our special soaps, and even our patented nut scrubber, myhappynuts.com has everything you need to take your man's nuts from being sad to happy this holiday season. Visit myhappynuts.com/Mike Tipton today and save up to 40% on the perfect package for your man's package.
What's up, everybody? Mike Tipton here on a Sunday afternoon, about to enjoy the Dallas Cowboys taking on the San Francisco 49ers. And I want to let you know about my friends over at Beer Box. Beerbox.com is a place that I went to get my craft beer delivered at home. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into it. The first beer we're going to be trying is from Fat Orange Cat Brewing Company in North Haven, Connecticut. I am so mad at myself because I was just there a couple of weeks ago, and I should have stopped by the brewery and tried some of their beers, but I got it delivered by my friends over at Beer Box. So let's go ahead and give it a try. A little ASMR for the ASMR audience here. The Baby Kittens from Fat Orange Cat Brew Company in North Haven, Connecticut is a hazy IPA. And you can see right there how beautiful it is, how hazy that looks. It's got a 6.5% ABV, so you know it's going to pack a little bit of a punch. I'm not a big IPA guy, but I can't wait to try this one. I can already smell that it's going to be super fresh. So here we go. Cheers. That is very interesting. It's not super impactful like what you normally get with a lot of IPAs, I think I might be a fan. I think a hazy IPA might be the way that I'm going to start going in the future. There you have it, the Baby Kittens from Fat Orange Cat Brewing Company in North Haven, Connecticut. I'm giving that one an 8 out of a 10. That is a great overall beer. So the next beer we have is going to be the Greenhouse Pilsner from Evil Twin Brewing Company in Ridgewood, New York. This is a Pilsner. It's got a 5% alcohol ABV on it, but you can see here an absolutely beautiful can. I love the artwork on that. That thing is absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait to try this one. Here we go again for the ASMR audience. Oh, that was good. Look at that thing of beauty right there from the Evil Twin Brewing Company in Ridgewood, New York. This Greenhouse Pilsner, look how beautiful that beer is right there. There we go. Bottoms up. Cheers, everybody. Man, that's good. That is phenomenal. I'm giving that one a 9 out of a 10. That beer is absolutely flavorful. What you need to do to try different beers like this from different areas, you don't have to travel out of town anymore and try to find them out. All you have to do is go over to beerbox.com. It's super simple the way that it works. So here's what you got to do. Just simply subscribe. That's simple. Can't be any easier than that. It's month to month, and you can cancel any time. Obviously, you must be 21 to enjoy. Then all you got to do is get ready. The experts at BeerBox select a top-notch variety of craft beer packed, shipped directly to your front door. Then just sit back and enjoy a monthly surprise of quality craft beer from the best breweries across America. Once again, beerbox.com, that's the place that you go to order all the best craft beer throughout the United States. Get your subscription today. Must be 21 or over to enjoy. All right, y'all, welcome back to the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. We only got about 6 minutes left here in the show. Jesus, time flies when you're having fun. I wanted to talk a little bit about what was going on in the NBA. I've said it a bunch of times. A lot of people say it's sacrilege, the fact that I'm a bigger NBA fan than I am an NFL fan. As far as teams go, though, I'm a bigger Dallas Cowboys fan than I am the rest of them. So it's one of those like double-edged swords with me. Everything makes me sad, basically. All the teams I love make me sad. They exist simply to break my heart. That's what all my teams do, except for the San Antonio Spurs, who are just so much fun to watch. Victor Wembanyama, if you haven't been watching the San Antonio Spurs games, watching that alien, Victor Wembanyama, do his thing is just so much fun to me. So much fun. You got to get out there, watch yourself a Spurs game. Okay. Yesterday, the NBA Cup finally has been underway. For those that don't know what the NBA Cup is, it's an in-season tournament that the NBA has designed to try to stop NBA players from sitting out a whole bunch of games, right? Like the whole Kawhi Leonard issue. And I get it with Kawhi Leonard. He is genuinely hurt. But with a lot of other players, it was just, oh, they're just going to rest today. It's a rest day because the NBA understands what their audience is. And the NBA understands that whenever you buy a ticket to a game, you want to see the best take on the best. One of the more frustrating things for me was a couple years back. Well, damn. Can't even say that now. It was like 9 years back. Jesus. Whenever I went to San Antonio and I wanted to see a Spurs game, I had to drive from El Paso to go out to San Antonio, bought the tickets, did all that stuff. It's a super expensive trip, right? And the only people that were playing in this game was the backups. And this is a matchup that had happened in the NBA Finals the year previous. It was the San Antonio Spurs versus the Miami Heat. An NBA Finals rematch in mid-March. Neither team had a back-to-back, but neither team had their starting lineups in except for Miami, who had Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh was the only starter in that game. And I remember thinking to myself, like, okay, well, I'm going to come back to some more Spurs games, but damn, this sucks. Well, like, it was just, okay, you know, it was a good game. The Heat win off of Bosh hitting like a three right over the outstretched hands of like Tiago Splitter or somebody like that. It was fun to watch, but it didn't have that star power that you go to those NBA games for. So the NBA invented the NBA Cup to be able to say, okay, we need more of a reason for players to keep playing these games. And luckily, it's been fun. Last year, the LA Lakers win the NBA Cup. I'm not a Lakers fan, but it was fun to watch them hang a banner and give some legitimacy to this in-season tournament. Well, they had group play. Think of it a lot like soccer, right? Think of it like the World Cup. You have group play, then you get knockout stages. And the knockout stages, you only get 8 teams. In the East, it's going to be represented by the Milwaukee Bucks, the New York Knicks, the Atlanta Hawks, and the Orlando Magic. And the Western Conference, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the very surprised Houston Rockets, who are the favorite to win the whole damn thing, the tournament at least. The Golden State Warriors and the Dallas Mavericks, all representing the Western Conference. It creates fun. It doesn't create a bunch of extra games. The championship game is going to be like one extra game, but it's held during All-Star Weekend. But it's just the way soccer does it as well, where it's a mini tournament inside the season that just makes people care. And ultimately, the reason why some of the players care is because if you're on a smaller contract, you get yourself an additional $1 million. Also, if you have a big contract, you get an additional $1 million. Who wouldn't like an additional $1 million? Right? Like that's what it really comes down to, is just finding those ways where you kind of have to be creative and trying to engage your fans. And Major League Baseball did the exact same thing yesterday with what they announced would be the Golden at Bat. Now, they don't know if it's going to be something they actually implement. They'll more than likely do it in the minor leagues leading forward. But the Golden at Bat is basically your team is down in the 9th inning. Your best batter is not going to come up to bat. So what do? You use the Golden at Bat. And now, instead of having, in the World Series, Shohei Ohtani on the bench, now you've got him up with a chance to try to win. Same thing with Aaron Judge. You get him up off the bench, and now you've got a chance to try to win yourself a baseball game with your best talent. I am all about the creativity, and I am all about what the NBA and Major League Baseball has done in order to create this creativity. Now, college football, it's your turn, because this college football 12-team playoff ain't going to work. All right, everybody, I want to thank you so much for being a part of today's show. I appreciate everything that y'all are doing in tuning into the show, sharing the show, doing all those things. We got one more show this week. We will be back tomorrow. I might do a special show on Friday, but don't forget, on Sunday, we'll be going live from Sunland Park Racetrack and Casino. Come on out and find out who's going to be in this year's Sun Bowl. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Hello, I'm Mike Tipton with a message for the ladies. Ladies, the man in your life doesn't know how to tell you this, but his nuts are not happy. Don't worry, you can make them happy by giving them happy nuts this holiday season. Visit www.myhappynuts.com/Mike Tipton and look for the perfect package that fits your man's package. From our Jingle Bells Your Ball Smell gift box that contains a Happy Nuts Comfort Cream and Anti-Chafe Comfort Stick, to of our best sellers and a special gift your man would love to hang from the tree, to our fresh and clean bundle, our special soaps, and even our patented nut scrubber. MyHappyNuts.com has everything you need to take your man's nuts from being sad to happy this holiday season. Visit MyHappyNuts.com/Mike Tipton today and save up to 40% on the perfect package for your man's package.